This crime that was committed in Kuwait was labeled by President Rodrigo Duterte a national shame. It sparked a nationwide uproar, and it became an international diplomatic incident between two countries. The Interpol itself interfered in a cross-country search for whoever committed this heinous crime. Johana was from a poor family in the Philippines. She had to work as a housekeeper with some relatives to support her mother and dad and 9 siblings. Although the money that she was making was not much, but it was enough to support her family at that time. But that all changed in the late of 2013 at the hands of Yolanda, a powerful typhoon that left more than 6,000 people dead and more than 4.5 billion Filipino pesos in infrastructure damage. Johana's parents had a lot of land, of farmland of rice and sugarcane they leased as a supplementary source of income. But after the storm, it was destroyed and they couldn't lease it anymore. In this desperate situation, Johana decided that she will go abroad like many other Filipinos to work. She secured a job to work as a housemaid in Kuwait. There is approximately 700,000 mainly women working as domestic workers or maids in Kuwait. 255,000 of those are from Filipino descent. In the Human Rights Watch report, it said that this sector was plagued with problems. Thousands of reports of unpaid wages, long work hours without rest, verbal, physical, and even sexual abuse facing these domestic workers. Of course, that was known throughout the Philippines. Her parents didn't approve in the beginning, and they were reluctant to let her go. But the situation was dire. They didn't even have any food to eat in that house. So for a $400 monthly salary, around 10 times her salary that she earned as a domestic worker in the Philippines, they finally approved and Johana left to work in Kuwait. In Kuwait, she got a job working for a Lebanese man and his Syrian wife. They were very strict and had very strict rules. For example, they confiscated her phone and she can only use it every 3 months, which is the time she sent the salary for her family. Every 3 months she sent the salary to her family. All was well until September 2016. Her family couldn't find suddenly 2 of Johana's Facebook profile, and her communication, every 3-month communication, was not anymore. Her family repeatedly tried to call her phone, but it was always off. Their only way of communication, knowing that also they live so far away in some rural area, is to contact the Filipino government to see if they can find or locate their daughter, especially what they call in the Philippines Overseas Worker Welfare Administration. The main source of the administration to find any information or where she went in the Philippines was to contact the agency that recruited her to work in Kuwait. It was called Our Lady of Mount Carmel Global Human Resource Incorporated. But when they searched for that agency, they found that it was closed. The government of the Philippines didn't move much to search for Johana. Actually, there is a problem in the Philippines because the government passes that responsibility to the agencies that recruit the workers. The law states in the Migrant Workers Act, Section 29, is that the migration of workers became strictly a matter between the worker and their foreign employees. Even the circumstance when Johana was recruited by that agency was entangled and messy. She was referred to the agency by Miss Tubalis. Miss Tubalis referred Johana to Our Lady of Mount Carmel agency to work in Kuwait. This agency paid 5,000 pesos to whoever found them a referral to be working. Actually, Mr. Tubalis was paid 13,000 to recruit Johana. There was no apparent reason or why did they pay her that amount, more than any other amount they usually hand over for any new recruitment. For 2 years, her family did not get any answer from anyone to crack the mystery of their daughter's disappearance. Johana, Syrian employee, was a well-to-do foreign worker himself in Kuwait. He worked in a company and he was making good money. That's how he could afford a domestic worker, because you have to have a certain cap of salary so they can give you or allow you to have a domestic worker working in your house, in your apartment. They lived in a well-to-do area in Kuwait, nice apartment with his Lebanese wife. But then he was caught on a case of unpaid checks. Suddenly he just left Kuwait. He escaped actually from Kuwait. When he escaped, he did not hand over his apartment. And in the law in Kuwait, you have to have a case. You cannot go in and break in if nobody paid the rent. You have to go through the courts. This court took a year and 4 months until they have a verdict that the owner can go in and break in the apartment. When they broke the door, they found out there was no furniture in the apartment except one freezer. And then when they opened the freezer, they came upon a gruesome scene. There was a frozen body in the freezer. The police in the beginning did not know who that body belonged to. Searching the records, they found out that the renter of the apartment filed a report that his maid ran away from the house before they escaped the country. From the fingerprints, they found out that it was the body of Johana Dima Phyllis. Reporting her absent and a runaway also complicated the search for Johana for 2 years, because if anybody asked him or asked any known person that she knows in Kuwait or the agency in Kuwait, they would say, she ran away, we don't know where she is. From Johana's autopsy, they found out that she was abused. There was broken ribs, many hit marks on her body. The neighbor's domestic worker, in her statements, affirmed that Johana told her that the lady she was working with was abusing her and hitting her many times, and she was not comfortable working for them, but she had to stay to provide for her family, and she had no way out because they even kept her passport with them. When this news reached the Philippines, there was an uproar for how they found Johana and the way she was apparently treated before she was killed, especially between the overseas community workers in the Philippines. They demanded for more attention, more rules, more laws to protect them in the countries they work, especially in countries that had many problems like the Gulf region. Actually, they had problems all over the world because they go all over the world and they are really not protected when they are in those foreign countries. The controversial president then, Duarte's, decided to impose a ban sending workers to Kuwait, domestic or otherwise, any kind of workers.
This ban stays permanently. There will be no more recruitment for especially domestic helpers.
That caused a diplomatic problem between Kuwait and the Philippines. Renato Villa, the ambassador of the Philippines in Kuwait, was ordered to leave Kuwait on April 25, 2018, accusing the ambassador of helping Filipino domestic workers to escape from their employees and return home. On February 12, 2018, Johana returned home in a wooden crate. The president himself participated in her funeral. In a press conference, he flashed pictures of Johana's body showing the abuse she went through and labeled her death a national shame. In April 2018, in Kuwait, the couple was tried in absentia, Muna Hassoun and Nader Isam. They were found guilty of murder with a punishment of death. The Kuwait authority then contacted the Interpol to locate the killers. They were both apprehended in Syria. Kuwait asked for them to be extradited to Kuwait to face their judgment, but Syria and Lebanon asked for the file of the case to be sent to them because they were going to try them in their countries. After he was caught, the husband admitted that his wife was always abusing Johana, and one day the argument got heated and his wife hit her with a vase and she fell unconscious. Feeling the consequences, he took her and he placed her in the freezer. Actually, he admitted that she was actually alive and breathing when he placed her in the freezer, making her cause of death, her final death, freezing. On September 9th, 2019, Syrian District Criminal Court found the wife, Muna Hassoun, guilty of death of the 25-year-old Johana. She got a sentence of 15 years in jail. The husband, Nader Isam, was charged in his native country of the murder. And actually, till date, I could not find out what was the sentence that it was handed to him. There is some solace and result from Johana's death. It prompted the government of the Philippines and Kuwait to sign an agreement that promised more protection for the hundreds of thousands of domestic and other workers that worked in Kuwait. That agreement, when it was signed, ended the diplomatic row between Philippines and Kuwait, and they resumed their diplomatic relationship. In May of 2018, Johana was laid to rest in her hometown. The text on her tombstone read, "For if we live to the Lord, and if we die to the Lord."